I thought we were talking outside 2001. If 2001 is there, I would have obviously put 2001. Why would I not put
Okay.
2000?
17 series wins at home on the trot, and it all looks good. 3-1 going into the last test in Dharamshala. But only Indian cricketers and those who followed this series would know how hard it just was to get this result. So, where does this put this current England India series as India's most significant wins at home? Now, we should not be doing a disservice here on ESPN Cricinfo Runorder to the years of history before us. So, why don't we narrow it down to the 21st century? Post 2000, which includes the epic India-Australia clash of 2001, where does this series rank? Yash Jha, George Binoy, Karthik Krishnaswamy in Dharamshala, Nagaraj Golapuri in the UK will all cover a period of time that pretty much covers most of our lives. So I think it's a fair assessment, right? Where does this series rank? Let me start with the senior most member of the panel. Nagaraj. We waited for a second to see who that is.
Nice slap, you bugger. So look, I'm trying to think, like, remember this book? History of Indian Cricket? This needs revision now. And this series will be entered in it, in the new edition. Any publisher listening, please talk to me and KK. So I think significant, yes. Clearly significant. Whether it's the most significant, I don't agree. 2017 India-Australia for me ranks really, really high. The play, not just for players, but even for outsiders, the level of cricket, the quality, the sort of duels, the contests that were involved in that series. That's at the bar. That's too high a bar, but there's no disservice to England. In terms of the significance, I was just drawing parallels to one series. Personally, for me, it was 2012 when Alistair Cook's England came, and Kevin Peterson, etc., dominated and won that series. The parallels is that at that point, there were three players. India were also going through a sort of, the transition has started. You had Kohli, you had Pujara, you had R. Ashwin. I think only Kohli had played about 10 test matches at that point. The rest of them were under 10, about 5 or something. If you look at this team, this is also in transition. And now these are the guys for the future.
I like what you said, because 2016-17, as far as box office goes, the amount of incident that took place ranks really high up. I'm happy to put this there and say this is India's most significant. 2016-17 might have been certainly a better standard of players overall. But I have no qualms in saying, without any recency bias, this is perhaps India's most significant win. So we've set it up nicely for the rest of you to now make sense. Karthik Krishnaswamy, you're next.
Yeah, I mean, fully agree that 2017 was a better standard of cricket, especially the bowling quality of the visiting team, Australia.
Yes.
Definitely the best bowling attack to have played in India since that 2012-13 series we spoke about, where we had Swan and Panesar and Anderson bowling beautifully as well. So those two series were better in terms of the bowling quality India faced. And in the end, like test matches and test series are decided by bowling quality. And through the course of this series, we've seen that England have lacked that. So in terms of like quality of contest over all 4 tests, it's not quite matched up to those 2 series, but even so, for this Indian team missing so many first choice players to come back from those positions and like put on two of the great day threes in Indian history, I think. In that sense, it's been one of the great series for sure.
We tend to think of the series where India come back from a deficit as the special ones. But I think there's also a case to be made for series where teams came to India with strong teams and were, absolutely dominated, which to me also shows, which to me is also significant. One of those examples would be South Africa in 2015, a series much debated for the kind of surfaces that were on offer. But you have to remember that was a South Africa side that was number 1. That was a South Africa side that had not lost away from home in 9 years. And they were beaten off the park. I mean, India won 3-0, and the only reason it wasn't 4-0 was that it was a washout in Bangalore. Even the England series of 2016, India won quite easily, but it's a series where England have had multiple games where they batted first, made 400, and ended up losing by an innings, which also went on to assert just how dominant India were becoming at home. So for me, these are the series which make the consideration.
George?
So just we're 23 years on from 2001. So I'm just going to revisit that series and kind of tell our newer viewers why that series was so significant.
Nagaraj is very happy with you telling the story.
Yeah, you got me. The most senior member, we know who it is.
Yeah. So Australia had won 16 tests in a row coming to India. They came in with a side that would inspire fear in, the viewers at the time, at least in India. They smashed their practice games. Their batters scored so many runs leading into that first test in Bombay and then absolutely thrashed India there. Took a massive lead in Kolkata and then India scripted possibly the greatest comeback in Test cricket. That immense test was followed by a test in Chennai that people tend to forget in this series, which was also like an iconic test match. Maybe it's because we were all young at that time, it inspired a whole wave of legends were created around that.
From that match. Yeah. The fact is that there was so much incident that we recall with 2001, which is, it's nice of George to point that out for younger viewers.
I mean, at some level, 2001, India were missing, here India missing Kohli, KL Rahul, a lot of their batters. But they still have Ashwin, they still have Jadeja. They've had Jadeja for most of the series. They've had Bumrah for most of the series. They've had a damn good attack. And whereas in 2001, it was a completely raw attack. And, and that series was like fairy tale in the sense that you put those teams together, especially the bowling attacks against each other 100 times. India are losing that series 98 times. I would argue that India is missing more significant players in terms of the ability to win matches in that series than they have missed.
Fair enough.
Here.
We'll also throw in the opposition, what George said in a nutshell of this being a team that inspired fear. This was the greatest test team of its generation and the streak was broken in that series. So it was not expected. It was the upset if India were to beat Australia at that time. So I think it's pretty safe to say it'll be hard to beat 2001 until we get a similar set of facts and narratives. Nagaraj has already put 2016 as, in terms of quality, is higher.
Listen, I thought we were talking outside 2001. If 2001 is there, I would have obviously put 2001. Why would I not put 2001? When this series started, I don't know how many people thought England would win even one test match. The fact that England stayed alive, like Karthik, you said about day threes on Rajkot and this, they lost from the positions. England could have. That's why the series has been riveting. That they might not have the bowling attack. Obviously, we all know that they have a very weak bowling attack. But it's been riveting because of England have stayed in the contest and lost the plot at some point. If they win Dharamshala, we will be talking about this series as one of the best. It will at least be at par with 2017. So I think, that's why I feel it's a significant for not just India, but also for England, from England's point of view.
This is where we wrap it up. But thank you very much to George Binoy, Yash Jha, Karthik Krishnaswamy, Nagaraj Golapuri. This was the ESPN Cricinfo Runorder, and you can tell us what you made of how significant this India series win was in tests at home in the last 24 years.